Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is for anyone who has written a nonfiction book. Maybe you know somebody. Have you thought about doing the audio version of your book? Maybe you have. I applaud you. Fantastic. You're ahead of the game. If you haven't, you really should, because the number of people that are listening to audiobooks is growing every single day, especially with our busy lifestyles. Unfortunately, we don't have time a lot of times to actually turn the page or even on a Kindle tablet to read a book. So we listen to it. But how do you record that? This guy helps you do that. He coaches you through the entire process, pretty much holds your hand through it. You can do it. Trust me. Robert Lane from Robert Lane Coaching is back with us. Robert, welcome. How are you?
Good. Glad to be back. And yes, you can narrate your own audiobook. A lot of people think that they don't have the skill or, oh, I hate my voice. And that's not true, because really you as a nonfiction author, only you can tell your story the way it was meant to be heard. And to preserve that style, that unique pace that you wrote in written word form in your book when you got it published, preserve that voice, preserve that style, when you turn it into an audiobook. So definitely nonfiction authors, you can definitely narrate your own audiobook.
Why? Because you did. Now and I just learned this very recently about Robert. You wrote a book called Lights, Action, You.
Yes.
And because of the title, I thought that it was a book that coaches you to do what we're talking about. But no, this is actually, call it a self-help book, call it a fiction book. This is the type of author that you work with. The type of author is yourself, because this is one of those books, right?
Right. Yeah. When I wrote Lights, Action, You, which for those of you who can see the video, there it is. The book is, it was when I was focusing on doing career coaching. Now, I spent 30 plus years working in the entertainment industry. So instead of just writing another career coaching book, I wanted to take my personal experiences and stories from working in the business, and with each story, tie it into a tool or technique or a lesson that I would teach in my career coaching program. And that way, and again, it's not written for entertainment people, it's written for everybody. It's written for people who maybe want a little inside scoop on what it's like to work in the business. Sure. But really the stories are very relatable to any type of job that you have. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be entertainment, because we all go through the similar experiences. And I take those experiences like time management, bad bosses, being present and aware, not missing opportunities that can promote your career, those kinds of things. Share those stories and then teach the lesson that is tied into that story. So that's what the book is all about. And that's actually what led me into becoming an audiobook coach and producer. So
I think this is so exciting that this all kind of plays into each other, because I got to believe that you're not a professional voiceover guy. You've helped. I'm sure you've done some books. Of course, you've done your own.
Yeah.
You're an audio guy as well. You've been in the entertainment business. You've also obviously written a book about self-improvement.
Yes.
This all plays together. I want to play a piece, if I may, of the audio version that you recorded, and just picture, if you're an author, a nonfiction author, this could be you. This could be you, very simply. With all the tools, and we'll get to that, how that's done in just a moment. But this is a piece of Robert's book on the audio side.
To this day, I still have the eyes and fins. I also have an article from a local Shadow Hills newspaper that did an in-depth interview with Mr. Matty about the making of Jaws after the movie was released. There's a great picture that was published in the article where Mr. Matty is holding one of the mechanical eyes. The other eye is lying on the ground behind him. You can 100% tell that the eyes in the picture are the same eyes I have, which is proof that they are the same mechanical eyes used in the movie and validates their authenticity. At one point, I joined a private Facebook group for Jaws fans called Jaws Fanatics, where I shared my story and posted pictures. Joe Elves, the production designer on the movie, saw my post and also verified that these were the authentic eyes from the shark. Now, I don't personally need any validation because I was there and lived it. But for the naysayers, there you go.
So we jumped in kind of midstream into one section of the book. Got an idea of what you're talking about, but why don't you even make it more clear?
Sure. That's actually taken from the first chapter, which is called The Eyes Have It, appropriately titled. Basically, I wanted to start the book with how I was exposed to the entertainment world initially. And just a quick recap of that chapter. Basically, when I grew up as a kid, the person who lived behind me was Robert Matty, who was the special effects guy who built the shark. He was a very famous special effects person who worked on a lot of Disney movies. He did Mary Poppins. He did 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Blackbeard's Ghost. I mean, there's a whole list. And he was actually retired at the time, and Spielberg called him and said, I want you to build this shark for this movie. And so in the chapter, I talk about how I was around at that time because I was best friends with his grandson who lived with him. And he took us to see the shark being built. So I talk about that experience.
Wow.
And then I eventually acquired the actual mechanical eyes from the shark, and I still have them to this day. So
can again, I say, I don't mean this, I don't want to use a pun, but it kind of ties in. Is that what bit you about the entertainment industry? Was that the beginning there?
Hook, line, and sinker.
There you go. That was it. Was that was the moment that you're like, wow, this is super cool. I want to be in this.
It was really an amazing experience. I talk about, if I had a camera, if I knew at that time, I was just a little kid, I would have loved to have taken a picture of that. There wasn't anything like iPhones at that time, right? We're talking Instamatics were the rage back in the day. But it was just such an amazing thing to see, especially as a little kid, and to see something really behind the scenes. How do they create movie magic? And that's what it was. And at that time, we didn't know, and even Robert Matty or nobody really knew that we were experiencing the world's first summer blockbuster. We had no idea. Nobody knew that this movie would turn into what it has turned into. So That's pretty exciting.
Yeah. And I vividly remember it. I was a kid and my dad took me and my sister to go see it. My dad had a boat. And he's like, well, let's go on the boat. We're not going on the boat because it was so real. But, back to recording your own book.
Yeah.
Taking it from the standpoint of you there, you're an author and you recorded it yourself. The only difference here is you have audio skills already behind you. So that kind of made it a little bit easier to do what you did. But for the rest of us, you can set us up with the equipment, the coaching. You take care of everything in terms of finishing up the tracks, making us all sound great, and then submitting them to where they need to get submitted to do an audio book, right?
Absolutely. I created a course that's called Your Book, Your Voice, and it is an audiobook coaching program. It's a 6-week intensive, and that's really divided up into like 3 pillars. The first is setup and preparation. So I do it with you. It's a do it with you program. So I'm there for the client, for the author, teaching them and showing them how to set up the recording space. And yes, I do send the equipment to the author. You get a professional mic, you get professional headphones. We go over the recording software. There's a sound isolation screen, and it's actually this ball that wraps around the entire mic, so it alleviates any kind of bouncing back sounds getting into your microphone. That's all sent to the author, and that's yours to keep. You keep it forever. Part of the program.
Yeah.
So then,
which great. I just want to, because I'm an equipment geek. When you write your next book, now you already have everything you need.
Yes.
And I got to believe too, you can also use that if you want to record whatever it might be, to sound professional. It's all included.
It's I wanted, and I vetted various different mics, and I decided on this particular one because it sounds great. If you want to do a podcast, or you can definitely use this mic as well. So it really sounds really, really good. The next phase, of course, would be narration. So we do a deep dive into what it takes to do a compelling, engaging narration that'll keep your listener engaged throughout your entire book. How to be consistent, practical tools and techniques. And then we also dive into the mindset aspect of it, because mindset is really important to be in the right frame of mind, to make sure that your delivery is great, and you bring in that intangible. And that intangible is you. It's your unique style, your unique personality, the way you talk, the way your pacing is. That's what makes you, you, because you did put that in your written form. So that's why, again, for me, it only makes sense for the author to narrate their own book, because you're bringing that unique style into your in audible form. So now the listener who is not imagining what you sound like when they read, they can actually hear you when you're doing your narration. And then finally, the third phase is publication. And this is where once you're done recording your files for your audiobook, and we can get into more detail about how that works, that's sent to me because I have 20 plus years audio editing experience. So I'm taking that background and applying it to the coaching program, where I make sure your files sound great. They are to the correct specifications that are required for publication. And then we get you on the three main platforms you really need to be on. And that's Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books. I call it the AAA. Audible, Amazon, Apple. And
wow.
You really, okay. You really
I never picked up on that. That's the all A's. Wow.
Yeah. So you really need to be on those. And then we talk about marketing strategies, things that you can do to maybe boost your rankings up in Amazon, and talk about what your goals are, and to get into details about, do you want to be exclusive? Do you want to be non-exclusive? Where do you want to distribute? All that stuff. So that all comes into play into the audio coaching program.
I want to give out our phone number, 631-319-6275. If you want to try and reach us. And I thought we had a call there. They'll probably call back. What do you say, Robert, to somebody who says, I can't do that? Wow, I sound horrible. There's just no way that I'm going to be able to record some book and have it sound credible.
All right. Well, the first thing we talk about is mindset, right? I can't. Very powerful words, but very negative. You got to switch that to I can. Yeah, because you can. You really can. And one thing to remember is we have this cavity, our head, and what we hear with our voice does not sound like what you hear when you record it. Now, I know a lot of people get used to what they think they sound like in their head, and then when they hear it back, they're like, "Oh, that is awful." But honestly, it's not. It's not awful at all. That really is more of an imagined issue, a confidence issue, and that is something that I do run into a lot with a lot of authors. They're great writers, but then they freeze up when it comes to actually doing a narration, or maybe some people are nervous speaking in front of public, like public speaking, or maybe doing a presentation. People get nervous. Some people have that same experience, but trust me, this is why I put on my coaching hat, right? This is why I'm there for you as a coach, to help you get over those fears. We do mindset work. We do whatever we need to do to put you in the right frame of mind to do your recording. So you can do it. You absolutely can. And my job as a coach is to guide you to make sure that you sound absolutely fantastic.
I want to bring up something that people have said to me a lot when it comes to what we're talking about. They might say, I have a cold. I'm going to sound, I'm nasally. And I can tell you, doing radio since I was a kid, literally since I was a kid, what you think you sound like, just what you said, Robert, isn't what you sound like. When somebody says, "Oh, I'm a little nasally today," I'm like, I don't realize it. I can't hear it. We think we hear something, because we're stuck in this cavity called our head where the sound is bouncing around. No, you sound natural. It's okay. Granted, if you have this raging, sinus infection, might want to wait a couple of days. No problem.
Right.
But you'll know. Like, somebody will say, you have a cold today, don't you? More times than not, nobody knows the difference. Nobody. And those, I'm bringing that up because those little nuances that we think we have might prohibit us from recording. But no, you sound great. Most people sound fantastic. Why? Because they sound natural, and
That's right.
goes a distance.
Yes, good point. Natural is very important. Being authentic, is very important, and conversational, obviously. Now, these are the things that I teach you in the program, and we talk about that, about how to be conversational, how to be your authentic self, because those are the intangibles. It's the intangibles that make you one step ahead of the game. It's not just technical. I use an analogy about singers or bands, who, especially singers who record. You can be great technically, but if there's no emotion or feeling behind it, and you're not authentic, then people will pick up on that. It doesn't matter how great of a singer you are, right? You have singer A and singer B. Singer B, technically is not as good as singer A, yet singer B is way more popular than singer A because they bring the emotion. They're there with that intangible that locks in their audience. And those are the things that I teach and coach the authors, that you can bring that intangible and bring that excitement and that unique personality of yours into your audiobook. Very important.
That being said, perfect is not perfect.
Yeah.
My point here is, you're a singer, everything is EQ'd perfectly in your mind. Oh, yes, I'm polished. It's not necessarily perfect because it is perfect, to your point. Instant feedback, you can reach us, instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. Also 631-319-6275 if you want to call us. This is Maria. She checks in from Bangor, Maine. She says, I'm a diet coach and I'm from Colombia. I also have a slight accent. Would you think I can do an audiobook?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, being a coach, diet coach, correct?
That's what she said. Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. I work with a lot of coaches who've written fantastic books, and again, it is so important, especially as a coach, to narrate your own audiobook, because this is your coaching program. There can be other diet coaches, for example, but this is the way you teach, and this is how you connect with the clients that you work with, because they want to work with you because they like you as a person. You can be just as qualified as another diet coach, but it's your personality that draws that person in. So I think having a little bit of an accent, not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's natural. Again, before, when we go through the audio coaching program, I have my clients send me a test recording before we dive into, before I say, go to the races and record, because I want to make sure that what I'm hearing is there's no extraneous sounds, there's any other issues that may be in the recording, so that we can fix that before you dive in and jump in. And of course, with anybody who's interested in the program, you book a call with me first before we do anything, just so we can talk about your book, talk about what your goals are, your marketing goals. I give you more details, of course, about the audiobook coaching program. And then if you want to do it, great, we get you signed up and ready to go for the next course. But I always talk to my clients first before signing anybody up. Again, I do want to stress that I don't charge. Some coaches charge for like consultations or calls and that kind of thing, and I don't do that. I don't believe in that at all. Let's just talk. Do it like a quick 15-minute call. Find out what your book is about and what you want to do with it, and then we can talk about your voice and things of that nature, so that you feel confident enough to do this, because I want you to be 100% in.
And I have two thoughts there. I got to believe, Robert, that you're not going to take on somebody if, let's just say, they have a very thick accent that doesn't translate well to an audiobook, or there are maybe some other challenges. You're not going to take it on because you're taking them under your wing. That's number one. Number two, in Maria's situation, she says she's from Colombia. She has a slight accent. I have to believe when she works with people as a diet coach, they're understanding her clearly. So yeah, it's going to be the same thing whether she's talking to a client one-on-one, unless she's speaking in, let's say, for example, Spanish, and they're Spanish, but she says just a slight accent. So it's going to be the same situation, her working one-on-one with a client or doing it to an audiobook.
Right. And you are 100% correct. If I feel like someone is not right for the program, or, I will tell them, for whatever reason, 9 out of 10 times you're right for the program. But if there is an accent issue that would make it really difficult for somebody to listen to the audiobook, then I would suggest hiring a narrator and going that route.
Sure.
And I have a list of people who are great narrators that I can refer. And also, as part of the program, you may not do the narration. However, you can still go through the program because what I do is for people who have maybe someone else do the narration, but you still have to do the audio post-production. You still have to make sure that those files are to spec. That is really, really important. And you still have to upload your files for publication. So that's part of the program. Now, you can hire me as an audio editor, separate from going through the coaching program if you want. That's fine too, which is a whole different price point and all that. So there is that option as well. And if you do want to work with me, let's say you feel really nervous about being in a group program, I highly recommend doing the group program. I keep it small. 8 people total max is what I cap my program at. And sometimes it's less, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 4. It depends. And that's fine. I love working with people in a very, very small, intimate group like that. But if you do feel, really nervous, I do offer one-on-one coaching as an option. Whatever works with you, that's why that initial phone call is so important. And that's why I want to talk with you, because then we can figure out what's best for you, if the program's right for you, and what aspect of the program do you need, and we'll get you set up.
That's got to feel so rewarding on your part when you start with somebody who is standing on the ledge, like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know. And then you get to the point where I just found your book, Robert, on Amazon and click the audio sample, and there you are for the world to hear in your book. That's got to make you feel fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. And I'll have to tell you something. I put on my editor's hat and I'm editing files and making sure, my clients, they're like, this chapter sounds great. And then when I do the final output and mix, it's all in real time. And that gives me an opportunity to actually take off the editor's hat and really just focus and listen. Now, of course, I'm mixing, and if there's something that I need to adjust, I will. But then I really start listening to their narration. And every time I get sucked in, I am so engaged with what they're talking about. And that makes me feel really great because, and it should make the author feel even better because what a great narration. I mean, you pulled me right in. I hear some of this stuff all the time. And that's the goal that I'm going for as a coach, to make sure that you are engaging and that your story comes off like as great as how it is when you wrote the book. And it's so gratifying when I hear that playback. I'm like, wow, that was a really great chapter. This book is really good.
You're listening as a listener. Robert, how do we find you?
Super easy. Go to robertlanecoaching.com. That has information about the program. There's a bunch of places you can click on to schedule a call with me. There's also on the homepage, there's a place that you can click for downloading a free audiobook narration reference guide. So grab one of those if you like. But yeah, you can find me at robertlanecoaching.com. Best place to find me.
That's awesome. And I truly, truly, again, love the fact that you're not just an audio guy. You are an author of nonfiction. So you're on this side of the fence. You're on that side of the fence. You can relate to somebody recording for the first time because you did it yourself. It was a little bit easier because you were able to edit it because that's what you've done for many years. So it's all there. If you're an author, reach out. It's free. It starts free and go from there and see if it's a good fit for you. Robert, thank you so much for all the details and the insight, and appreciate you being here today.
Oh, my pleasure. It's great to be here, and it's great to share my knowledge, and I hope that I'll be able to help authors narrate their audiobook.
Fantastic. All right. We'll talk soon. Thanks again.
All right. Take care.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.